This is Storytime Audio, bringing you captivating tales that touch the heart and stir the soul. Today, we delve into Shattered Vows, navigating love, betrayal, and redemption after a cheating wife's confession. Follow the emotional journey of Tom Harrington, a dedicated family man whose world is upended by his wife's infidelity. As he grapples with heartbreak, Tom embarks on a path of self-discovery and renewal, finding strength in his love for his children and the support of those around him. Join us as we explore themes of trust, resilience, and the power of new beginnings in this gripping tale. Tom Harrington woke up to the soft glow of autumn morning light filtering through the curtains of his bedroom. The remnants of a relentless headache throbbed in his temples, forcing him out of bed earlier than he would have liked. He stumbled into the bathroom, reached for the bottle of aspirin in the medicine cabinet, and swallowed 2 pills with a gulp of water. Leaning on the sink, he took a deep breath, hoping the queasiness in his stomach would settle. Tom was a mechanic by trade, working long hours at a local garage in the small town of Maplewood, California. His days were filled with the hum of engines and the smell of motor oil, a job he enjoyed and took pride in. But today, the familiar routines felt distant and meaningless. Yesterday had upended his entire world. After a grueling day at work, Tom had returned home, looking forward to a quiet evening with his family. He had no idea that his life was about to change irrevocably. As he walked through the front door of their modest 2-story house, he was greeted by an unusual silence. The usual sounds of his children playing or the television blaring were conspicuously absent. "Lily?" he called out, his voice echoing through the empty hallway. "Ben, Emma, Max?" There was no answer. Puzzled, Tom made his way to the living room, where he found his wife, Lily, sitting on the couch. She looked up at him, her eyes a mix of love and sadness that sent a shiver down his spine. "Tom," she began, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." Tom's heart sank. Those 4 words were never a good sign. He sat down opposite her, bracing himself for whatever was coming. "I've been seeing someone else," Lily confessed, her eyes welling up with tears. "For the past year, I've been in a relationship with another man." The words hit Tom like a sledgehammer. He felt the room spin as he tried to process what he had just heard. "What?" he managed to choke out, his voice barely more than a whisper. Lily took a deep breath and continued. "His name is Jake Foster. He was in a car accident last year that killed his wife. He survived but has been struggling ever since. I met him at the hospital where I volunteer. He was so broken, Tom. He needed someone, and I tried to help him. Over time, our connection grew stronger, and it turned into something more." Tom's mind raced. How could this be happening? Lily was his rock, his partner in life. They had been married for 17 years and had built a life together, raising 3 wonderful children. The thought of her with another man was incomprehensible. "Do you love him?" Tom asked, his voice breaking. Lily nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I do. But I still love you, Tom. I love our family. I don't want to leave you or the kids. But I can't abandon Jake either. He needs me." Tom felt a surge of anger and betrayal. "How long has this been going on?" he demanded, his voice rising. "A year," Lily admitted. "I'm so sorry, Tom. I never meant for this to happen. But it did, and now we have to figure out what to do." Tom stood up, pacing the room as he tried to contain his emotions. "Figure out what to do? What do you mean, figure out what to do? You're having an affair, Lily. You've been lying to me for a year." "I know," Lily said softly. "And I'm so sorry. But I want to make this work. I want to stay with you and the kids. I promise, once Jake is better and doesn't need me anymore, I'll end things with him and be fully committed to our family again." Tom couldn't believe what he was hearing. The woman he loved, the mother of his children, was asking him to accept her infidelity and wait until she decided it was over. His anger boiled over. "Are you kidding me?" he shouted. "You expect me to just sit here and wait while you play house with another man? How could you do this to us?" Lily flinched at his words but didn't back down. "Tom, I know this is hard. But if you love me, you'll understand. You'll let me help Jake until he can stand on his own. Then I'll come back to you, to our family. Please, try to see it from my perspective." Tom shook his head, feeling a mixture of fury and despair. "I don't know if I can do that, Lily. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again." The conversation ended with both of them in tears, the weight of the situation hanging heavily between them. Lily packed a bag and left to stay with Jake, leaving Tom alone in the house they had once shared so happily. That night, Tom couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned, replaying the conversation over and over in his mind. How had things gone so wrong? He had always thought they had a strong marriage, built on trust and mutual respect. But now, that trust was shattered, and he didn't know how to move forward. The next morning, Tom woke up with a pounding headache and a heart full of pain. He knew he couldn't continue like this. He needed to take control of the situation, for his sake and the sake of his children. They deserved stability and security, and he was determined to provide it for them, even if it meant making the hardest decision of his life. Tom decided to call Steve Thompson, his boss at the garage. He needed some time off to sort out his personal life. When he explained the situation, Steve was understanding and supportive. "Take all the time you need, Tom," Steve said. "Family comes first. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." Tom thanked him and hung up, feeling a small measure of relief. He then reached out to Frank Miller, a divorce lawyer Steve had recommended. Frank had a reputation for being tough but fair, and Tom needed someone like that in his corner. When Tom met with Frank later that day, he laid everything out on the table. Frank listened intently, taking notes and asking questions to get a clear picture of the situation. "Tom, I understand this is a difficult time for you," Frank said finally. "But you need to protect yourself and your children. The first step is to secure your finances. I suggest you withdraw half of the money from your joint accounts and put it in a separate account in your name only. We'll also need to file for a restraining order to keep Lily from coming back to the house without your permission." Tom nodded, feeling a sense of resolve. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep my kids safe and give them a stable home." Over the next few days, Tom followed Frank's advice. He withdrew the money, changed the locks on the house, and filed for a restraining order. It was a painful process, but he knew it was necessary. He also sat down with his children and explained the situation as gently as he could. "Mom and I are going through a tough time right now," he told them. "But I want you to know that I love you all very much, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we get through this together." Ben, Emma, and Max were understandably upset and confused, but they trusted their father and knew he was doing his best to take care of them. Tom's heart ached for them, but he knew that they were strong and that they would get through this as a family. As the days turned into weeks, Tom began to see a glimmer of hope. He started focusing on his work and taking care of his children, finding solace in the routines of daily life. He also began to take better care of himself, eating healthier and exercising regularly. It was a small step, but it made him feel more in control. Despite the pain and betrayal, Tom knew he had to move forward. He had a family to support and a future to build. And with the help of his friends and loved ones, he was determined to do just that. The days that followed were a blur of emotions and difficult decisions for Tom Harrington. Each morning, he woke up with a heavy heart, but he forced himself to get out of bed for the sake of his children. He had to be strong for them, even if he felt like his world was falling apart. Tom found himself consumed by thoughts of Lily and Jake. He couldn't understand how his wife, the woman he had shared his life with for 17 years, could betray him so deeply. The image of Lily with another man haunted him, and he struggled to make sense of it all. One evening, a few weeks after Lily's confession, Tom was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the divorce papers Frank had prepared. He knew he had to sign them, but the act felt like a final, irrevocable step. He was lost in thought when he heard the front door open. Lily walked in, looking as if she had aged years in the past few weeks. Her eyes were tired, and she seemed to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. Tom's heart clenched at the sight of her, torn between anger and lingering affection. "Tom," she said softly, her voice filled with sorrow. "Can we talk?" Tom nodded, motioning for her to sit down. He took a deep breath, trying to keep his emotions in check. "What do you want to talk about, Lily?" "I've been staying with Jake," she began, her voice trembling. "But I've been thinking a lot about us, about our family. I know what I did was wrong, and I can't undo it. But I need you to understand why it happened." Tom's anger flared. "Understand? You want me to understand why you cheated on me for a year? Why you lied to me every day?" Lily flinched at his words but pressed on. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, Tom. I know I don't deserve it. But I need you to hear me out. I felt lost, like I was drowning. Our lives had become so routine, so predictable. And then I met Jake. He was so broken, and helping him made me feel alive again. I didn't mean for it to turn into an affair, but it did. Tom shook his head, struggling to keep his voice steady. You should have talked to me, Lily. We could have worked through it together. But instead, you turned to someone else. I know, Lily said, tears streaming down her face. And I regret it every single day. I never wanted to hurt you or the kids. But now, I'm torn. I still care about Jake, but I love you and our family. I don't want to lose everything we've built. Tom's heart ached at her words, but he knew he couldn't go back to the way things were. The trust had been shattered, and he wasn't sure it could ever be repaired. Lily, I can't do this anymore. I can't live in a marriage where I'm constantly wondering if you're with someone else. I need to move on, for my sake and for the kids. Lily nodded, her face a mask of pain. I understand, Tom. I just needed you to know how I feel. I'm so sorry for everything. Tom felt a wave of sadness wash over him. This wasn't how he had envisioned their life together. But he knew he had to make a clean break, for the sake of his own sanity. I'm filing for divorce, Lily. It's the only way I can move forward. Lily's shoulders slumped, and she let out a shaky breath. I understand. I'll cooperate with whatever you need. I just want the best for our kids. Tom nodded, feeling a sense of finality settle over him. We'll figure it out. But for now, I need some time to process all of this. Lily stood up, looking at Tom with a mixture of sorrow and regret. I'll be staying with Jake until we can sort everything out. If you need anything, just call me. As she left, Tom felt a strange mix of relief and grief. He knew the road ahead would be tough, but he was determined to rebuild his life for the sake of his children. He signed the divorce papers that night, feeling a heavy weight lift off his shoulders. The next morning, Tom woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he had to take care of his children and provide them with the stability they needed. He called Frank and arranged for the papers to be filed, setting the wheels in motion for the next chapter of his life. Over the following weeks, Tom focused on his children, making sure they were adjusting to the new reality. He spent more time with them, helping Ben with his football practice, attending Emma's school events, and playing games with Max. The bond between them grew stronger, and Tom found solace in their laughter and love. He also threw himself into his work, finding comfort in the familiar routines of the garage. The physical labor helped him clear his mind, and the camaraderie with his coworkers provided a much-needed distraction. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Tom received a call from Frank. Tom, we need to talk about the next steps. Lily's lawyer has responded to the divorce filing. Tom sighed, knowing this was only the beginning of a long and difficult process. All right, Frank, what do we need to do? We need to discuss the division of assets, custody arrangements, and any potential alimony or child support, Frank explained. It's going to be a tough negotiation, but I'm confident we can get you a fair settlement. Tom felt a surge of determination. He was ready to fight for his children and ensure they had the best possible future. Let's do it, Frank. Whatever it takes. As the weeks turned into months, the divorce proceedings dragged on. There were heated discussions and emotional confrontations, but through it all, Tom remained steadfast. He knew he was doing the right thing for his family, and that gave him the strength to keep going. In the midst of the legal battles, Tom also began to take steps to improve his own well-being. He joined a gym and started working out regularly, shedding the extra weight he had gained over the years. He changed his diet, opting for healthier options, and even started cooking meals for the family. The kids initially grumbled about the changes, but they soon began to enjoy the new routines. Tom also decided to pursue a dream he had long harbored, opening his own auto repair shop. He talked to his father-in-law, Michael, who was supportive and offered to help him set up the business on his property. With Michael's assistance, Tom began converting an old barn on the farm into a fully functional garage. Working on the new shop provided Tom with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. He spent his evenings and weekends there, slowly transforming the space into a place where he could do what he loved while being closer to his children. The kids often joined him, eager to learn and help out. Ben showed a keen interest in mechanics, and Tom enjoyed teaching him the ins and outs of car repair. Emma loved helping with the administrative side, organizing tools and keeping track of inventory. Even little Max found joy in being around his dad, handing him tools and asking endless questions. One day, while working at the shop, Tom received a call from Frank. Tom, I've got some news. The judge has granted us an emergency restraining order. Lily won't be allowed to enter the house or come within 500 feet of you and the kids." Tom felt a wave of relief. It was a small victory, but it meant he could finally start to rebuild his life without the constant fear of confrontation with Lily. "Thanks, Frank. I appreciate everything you're doing." As the divorce proceedings continued, Tom focused on his new business and his children. The garage, which he named Harrington's Auto Repair, began to attract clients through word of mouth. His reputation as a skilled mechanic and the friendly, family-oriented atmosphere of the shop helped business grow steadily. Tom's transformation didn't go unnoticed. His coworkers at the garage, his friends, and even his clients began to see a new side of him. He was more confident, more focused, and more determined than ever before. One evening, as Tom was closing up the shop, he noticed a familiar figure standing by the entrance. It was Jessica, the receptionist from the garage where he used to work. She smiled warmly at him. "Hi, Tom. I heard about your new shop and wanted to come by and see it." Tom was surprised but pleased to see her. "Hey, Jessica. It's great to see you. Come on in. I'll give you a tour." As they walked through the shop, Tom felt a sense of pride in what he had built. Jessica admired the setup and listened intently as Tom explained his vision for the business. "You've done an amazing job here, Tom," Jessica said sincerely. "I'm really impressed." "Thanks, Jessica," Tom replied, feeling a warmth in his chest. "It's been a lot of hard work, but it's all worth it. This place is a fresh start for me and my kids." Jessica nodded, understanding the significance of his words. "I can see that. You've come a long way, Tom. I'm happy for you." As they stood in the shop, surrounded by the tools and equipment that represented Tom's new beginning, he felt a glimmer of hope for the future. It wasn't just about the shop or the business, it was about rebuilding his life and finding happiness again. The evening ended with Tom and Jessica exchanging contact information and making plans to catch up over coffee. It was a small step, but for Tom, it felt like the beginning of something new and positive. As he drove home that night, Tom reflected on how far he had come. The pain and betrayal of Lily's affair still lingered, but he was no longer defined by it. He had taken control of his life, focused on his children, and pursued his dreams. And in the process, he had discovered a strength he never knew he had. With the support of his family and friends, Tom knew he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. He was ready to embrace the future, one step at a time. Tom Harrington found solace in the routine of his new life. The garage, now a bustling hub of activity, became his sanctuary. The pain of Lily's betrayal still lingered, but the daily grind and the love of his children kept him focused and grounded. He poured his energy into his work, determined to make Harrington's Auto Repair a success. One crisp autumn morning, Tom was in the middle of fixing a customer's car when his phone rang. He wiped his hands on a rag and answered, seeing it was Frank Miller. "Hey, Tom," Frank's voice came through the line. "I've got some news for you." Tom's heart skipped a beat. "What's up, Frank?" "Lily's lawyer reached out. They're willing to negotiate a settlement. It seems she's finally ready to move forward." Tom felt a mix of relief and apprehension. The divorce proceedings had been dragging on, and he was eager to put it all behind him. "That's good to hear. What's the next step?" "We'll set up a meeting to go over the terms. I'll be there to make sure everything is fair. In the meantime, stay strong. We're almost there." "Thanks, Frank. I appreciate everything you're doing." Tom hung up the phone and took a deep breath. The end of this chapter was finally in sight, and he was ready to move on. He glanced over at Ben, who was helping him in the shop. His son had grown a lot over the past few months, stepping up to support the family in ways Tom hadn't expected. "Hey, Ben," Tom called out. "Can you hand me that wrench?" Ben nodded and handed his father the tool, a look of determination on his young face. "Dad, are things going to be okay?" Tom smiled, ruffling Ben's hair. "Yeah, buddy. Things are going to be just fine. We're a team, and we'll get through this together." Later that evening, after closing up the shop, Tom decided to take the kids out for a treat. They piled into the family car and headed to a local ice cream parlor. The air was filled with laughter and the scent of freshly made waffles as they sat down to enjoy their desserts. As they ate, Tom noticed a familiar face across the room. Jessica, the receptionist from his old job, was sitting with a friend. She spotted him and waved, a warm smile spreading across her face. Tom waved back, feeling a sense of comfort in seeing someone who had been a part of his old life. After a few moments, Jessica walked over to their table. "Hey, Tom, how are you doing?" "I'm good, Jessica. Just enjoying some ice cream with the kids. How about you?" "I'm great. It's nice to see you out and about. The shop looks amazing, by the way. You've done a fantastic job." Tom felt a surge of pride. "Thanks, Jessica. It's been a lot of work, but it's worth it." Jessica glanced at the kids, who were eagerly devouring their ice cream. "Mind if I join you for a bit?" "Not at all," Tom replied, motioning for her to take a seat. As they chatted, Tom found himself relaxing. Jessica's presence was comforting, and he appreciated her genuine interest in how he and the kids were doing. They talked about everything from work to family, and Tom realized how much he enjoyed her company. After a while, Jessica glanced at her watch. "I should get going, but it was really nice catching up, Tom. We should do it again sometime." "Definitely," Tom agreed. "Thanks for stopping by, Jessica." As she walked away, Tom couldn't help but feel a spark of something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was room in his life for something new. The next few weeks flew by as Tom prepared for the settlement meeting. He worked closely with Frank to ensure everything was in order and spent his free time with the kids, making sure they felt supported and loved. The garage continued to thrive, and Tom felt a sense of accomplishment in what he had built. On the day of the meeting, Tom dressed in his best suit and headed to Frank's office. He was nervous but determined to see it through. As he walked into the conference room, he saw Lily and her lawyer, Lisa Turner, already seated. Lily looked tired but resolute. "Tom," she greeted him with a nod. "Lily," he replied, taking a seat across from her. Frank and Lisa began the meeting, discussing the terms of the settlement. It was a tense and emotional process, but Tom stayed focused on what was best for his children. They discussed the division of assets, custody arrangements, and financial support. Despite the pain, Tom and Lily managed to reach an agreement that was fair to both parties. After the meeting, Tom felt a weight lift off his shoulders. It was finally over. He could move forward and focus on the future. As he left the office, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in months. That evening, Tom sat down with his children to explain the situation. "The divorce is finalized," he told them gently. "Your mom and I have agreed on how things will be moving forward. But no matter what, we both love you very much, and we'll always be here for you." Ben, Emma, and Max listened quietly, absorbing the news. They had been through a lot, but Tom knew they were strong. Together, they would get through this. In the weeks that followed, life began to settle into a new normal. Tom continued to build his business, and the kids adjusted to the new routine. They spent weekends at Michael and Susan's farm, working on projects and enjoying the outdoors. Tom cherished these moments, grateful for the support of his extended family. One Saturday, as they were working on a new project in the garage, Tom received a surprise visitor. Jessica walked in, carrying a box of donuts. "Hey, I thought you and the kids might like a treat," she said with a smile. Tom's face lit up. "Jessica, you didn't have to do that. But thank you." She shrugged, setting the box down on a workbench. "I wanted to. Plus, I figured I could help out a bit if you need an extra pair of hands." Tom nodded, appreciating her gesture. "We could always use some help." "Thanks, Jessica." As they worked side by side, Tom found himself opening up to her. They talked about their hopes and dreams, and Tom realized how much he enjoyed her company. She was kind, funny, and had a way of making him feel at ease. Over time, their friendship grew stronger, and Tom began to see the possibility of something more. He was cautious, not wanting to rush into anything, but the connection between them was undeniable. One evening, after a long day at the shop, Tom and Jessica sat on the porch, sipping iced tea and watching the sunset. The kids were playing in the yard, their laughter filling the air. "Tom," Jessica said softly, turning to face him, "I want you to know how much I admire what you've done. You've built a new life for yourself and your kids, and it's truly inspiring." Tom felt a warmth in his chest. "Thank you, Jessica. That means a lot coming from you." She reached out and took his hand, her eyes full of sincerity. "I care about you, Tom. And I care about your kids. I just wanted you to know that." Tom squeezed her hand, feeling a sense of connection he hadn't felt in a long time. "I care about you too, Jessica. Let's take this one step at a time and see where it goes." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Tom felt a sense of hope and possibility. He didn't know what the future held, but he was ready to embrace it, one step at a time. As the weeks turned into months, Tom Harrington's life continued to improve. He had successfully settled into a new routine, balancing work, family, and the budding relationship with Jessica. The garage thrived, thanks to Tom's dedication and the growing number of satisfied customers. His children seemed to be adjusting well to the new normal, and for the first time in a long while, Tom felt a sense of peace. One afternoon, as Tom was working on a particularly tricky engine repair, his phone buzzed with a text message from Jessica. She had been a constant source of support and joy in his life, and he smiled as he read her message. "Hey, Tom, how about a picnic this weekend? I'd love to spend some time with you and the kids. Let me know if that works for you. Smile." Tom quickly replied, "That sounds perfect. We'll be there. Can't wait." That Saturday, Tom and the kids met Jessica at a picturesque park on the outskirts of town. The park was a favorite among locals, known for its sprawling green lawns, shady trees, and a serene lake. They found a spot under a large oak tree, spreading out a blanket and unpacking the picnic basket filled with sandwiches, fruit, and homemade cookies. As they ate and chatted, Tom felt a deep sense of contentment. Jessica was wonderful with the kids, engaging them in conversations and games. Ben and Emma adored her, and even little Max, who had been initially shy, warmed up to her quickly. After lunch, they played a game of soccer on the open field. Tom watched as Jessica and the kids laughed and chased after the ball, feeling grateful for the moments of happiness they shared. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil he had experienced just months earlier. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Tom and Jessica sat on the blanket, watching the kids play by the lake. Jessica leaned her head on Tom's shoulder, and he felt a surge of affection for her. "Thank you for today," Tom said softly. "It means a lot to me and the kids." Jessica smiled, looking up at him. "I love spending time with you all. You and the kids have become very important to me, Tom." Tom took her hand, feeling a sense of connection and warmth. "You mean a lot to us too, Jessica. I'm really glad you're in our lives." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the children skip stones across the lake. For Tom, it was a moment of tranquility and hope for the future. The following week, Tom received a call from Frank Miller with some unexpected news. "Tom, I wanted to let you know that Lily's lawyer has reached out again. They want to revisit the custody arrangement." Tom's heart sank. He had hoped that the legal battles were behind him. "What does she want, Frank?" "They're asking for more visitation rights for Lily. She claims she's in a better place now and wants to be more involved in the kids' lives." Tom sighed, feeling a mix of frustration and concern. "I don't want to disrupt the kids' stability, Frank. They've been doing so well." "I understand, Tom. We'll fight for what's best for the kids. But we need to be prepared for a potential court battle." Tom spent the next few days discussing the situation with Jessica and his father-in-law, Michael. They all agreed that the children's well-being was the top priority, and Tom resolved to fight for their best interests. The court date arrived, and Tom found himself back in the courtroom, facing Lily and her lawyer. Lily looked different, more composed and determined. She addressed the judge, explaining how she had been working on herself and wanted to rebuild her relationship with her children. Tom listened, his emotions swirling. He knew how much the kids had been hurt by Lily's actions, but he also understood the importance of having both parents involved in their lives. When it was his turn to speak, Tom focused on the children's needs and their progress since the separation. After a lengthy discussion, the judge made a decision. Lily would be granted additional supervised visitation, with the possibility of increasing her time with the children if things went well. Tom agreed, hoping that this arrangement would be the best compromise for everyone involved. As they left the courtroom, Lily approached Tom. "Thank you, Tom. I know this hasn't been easy for any of us. I just want to do what's right for the kids." Tom nodded, still feeling a mix of emotions. "Let's make sure we put them first, Lily. They deserve the best from both of us." With the new arrangement in place, Tom focused on maintaining the stability he had worked so hard to build. The kids adapted to the new visitation schedule, and Tom remained vigilant, ensuring their well-being was always the top priority. Jessica continued to be a pillar of support, and their relationship grew stronger. They spent weekends together, blending their lives in a way that felt natural and fulfilling. Tom began to see a future where he could find happiness and love again, not just for himself but for his children as well. One evening, after a particularly busy day at the shop, Tom sat down with Jessica on the porch, enjoying the cool breeze. The kids were inside, finishing their homework. "Tom," Jessica began, her voice soft, "I've been thinking a lot about us. About our future." Tom turned to her, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "What is it, Jessica?" "I love you, Tom. And I love your kids. I want to be a part of your lives, not just as a friend, but as a partner." Tom felt a rush of emotion. He had grown to care deeply for Jessica, and the thought of a future together filled him with hope. "I love you too, Jessica. You've brought so much joy and stability into our lives. I can't imagine going through all of this without you." Jessica smiled, her eyes shining with emotion. "Then let's make it official. Let's build a life together, as a family." Tom took her hand, feeling a sense of certainty he hadn't felt in a long time. "Yes, let's do that. Let's build a future together." With their decision made, Tom and Jessica began to plan their future. They took things one step at a time, always prioritizing the well-being of the children. Jessica moved in with them, and together, they created a loving and supportive home. The children quickly embraced Jessica as a part of their family. Ben admired her strength and kindness. Emma found a confidant and friend, and Max adored having someone who was always there for him. The house was filled with laughter, love, and a sense of belonging that had been missing for so long. As the seasons changed, Tom reflected on the journey he had been through. The pain of Lily's betrayal had been profound, but it had also led him to a place of growth and renewal. He had discovered a strength within himself that he hadn't known existed and had built a new life filled with hope and possibility. On a sunny spring day, Tom and Jessica gathered with family and friends for a small, intimate wedding ceremony. They stood in a beautiful garden, surrounded by blooming flowers and the people they loved. As they exchanged vows, Tom felt a sense of peace and joy that he had longed for. After the ceremony, they celebrated with their loved ones, sharing laughter, stories, and dreams for the future. Michael and Susan were there, beaming with pride and happiness. The kids were overjoyed, and Tom couldn't have asked for a more perfect day. That night, as they sat together on the porch, watching the stars twinkle above, Tom took Jessica's hand. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Jessica smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Yes, we have, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else." Tom kissed her gently, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought them together. "Here's to the future, Jessica. Together, we can face anything." As they looked out at the night sky, Tom knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges and obstacles ahead, but with Jessica by his side and the love of his family, he felt ready to embrace whatever the future held. And so, with hope in their hearts and love in their lives, Tom and Jessica began the next chapter of their story, knowing that together they could overcome anything. Kaut choyan chua ket thuk. Kon nu kaya gun kak kua kwak song va kag nyan bat ko the teep tuk duok fat trian. Toi say teep tuk viet fan teep theo de dam bao kaut choyan hong chin va sao sak hung. As Tom and Jessica settled into their new life together, they encountered both joys and challenges. Building a blended family required patience, understanding, and a lot of love. Tom's children were adjusting well to the changes, but there were still moments of tension and difficulty. One evening, as Tom and Jessica were preparing dinner, Emma approached them with a serious expression. "Dad, Jessica, can we talk?" Tom and Jessica exchanged a glance and nodded. "Of course, Emma. What's on your mind?" Tom asked. Emma took a deep breath. "I've been feeling really stressed at school lately. There's so much pressure, and sometimes I feel like I can't handle it." Tom's heart ached for his daughter. He knew that the past year had been tough on her, and the added stress of school was clearly taking a toll. "I'm sorry you're feeling this way, Emma. How can we help?" Jessica chimed in, her voice gentle. "Maybe we can talk to your teachers and see if there's anything we can do to ease the pressure. And we're always here to support you, Emma. You don't have to go through this alone." Emma nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "Thanks, Jessica. I just needed to know that you both understand." Tom hugged his daughter tightly. "We love you, Emma. We'll get through this together." Jessica and Tom worked closely with Emma's teachers to find solutions that would help her manage her stress. They also made a point of spending quality time together as a family, reinforcing their support and love for each other. Meanwhile, Tom's relationship with Ben continued to deepen. Ben had shown a keen interest in mechanics, and Tom enjoyed teaching him everything he knew. They spent countless hours in the garage, working on cars and bonding over their shared passion. One day, as they were working on an old Mustang, Ben turned to his father. "Dad, I think I want to become a mechanic like you. I love working on cars, and I want to follow in your footsteps." Tom felt a surge of pride. "That would be amazing, Ben. You have a real talent for this. We'll make sure you get the training and experience you need." As Ben's interest in mechanics grew, Tom started to think about the future of Harrington's auto repair. He began to explore the idea of expanding the business, possibly opening a second location. With Ben by his side, Tom saw the potential for growth and success. Jessica, always supportive, encouraged Tom to pursue his dreams. "You've built something incredible, Tom. Expanding the business would be a great opportunity for you and Ben." With Jessica's encouragement and Ben's enthusiasm, Tom began to develop plans for the expansion. It was an exciting time, filled with possibilities and new challenges. In the midst of their busy lives, Tom and Jessica made sure to nurture their relationship. They set aside regular date nights, where they could focus on each other and enjoy some much-needed relaxation. Whether it was a quiet dinner at their favorite restaurant or a weekend getaway to the coast, these moments strengthened their bond and reminded them of the love they shared. As the months passed, Tom noticed a positive change in his youngest son, Max. The boy had always been happy and energetic, but now he seemed even more confident and secure. Tom attributed much of this to Jessica's presence in their lives. She had a natural way with children, and her love and support had made a significant impact on Max. One evening, as Tom was tucking Max into bed, the little boy looked up at him with wide eyes. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course, Max. What is it?" Tom replied, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Is Jessica going to be my new mom?" Max asked innocently. Tom felt a lump in his throat. He had always been honest with his children, and he wanted to give Max a thoughtful answer. "Jessica loves us very much, Max. She's a very important part of our family now. What do you think about that?" Max smiled. "I like it. She's nice, and she makes us all happy." Tom hugged his son tightly. "I'm glad to hear that, Max. Jessica cares about you a lot, and we're lucky to have her in our lives." As Tom left Max's room, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the family they were building. It wasn't always easy, but the love and support they shared made every challenge worth it. One weekend, the entire family decided to take a trip to visit Tom's parents, who lived in a small town a few hours away. Tom's parents, James and Margaret Harrington, had been a source of strength and wisdom throughout his life. He was eager to introduce Jessica to them and spend some quality time together. When they arrived, James and Margaret greeted them with open arms. The warmth and love in their home were palpable, and Tom felt a wave of nostalgia as he walked through the familiar rooms. During their visit, Tom and Jessica sat down with James and Margaret to share their plans for the future. They talked about the garage expansion, the challenges of blending their families, and their hopes and dreams. James listened intently, his eyes filled with pride. "You've come a long way, Tom. I'm so proud of the man you've become. And Jessica, welcome to the family. We're grateful to have you with us." Margaret nodded in agreement. "Family is everything. Together, you can face any challenge that comes your way." The weekend was filled with laughter, stories, and heartfelt moments. The children enjoyed spending time with their grandparents, and Tom and Jessica appreciated the opportunity to connect with James and Margaret on a deeper level. As they prepared to leave, James pulled Tom aside. "Son, life is full of unexpected twists and turns. But you've shown incredible strength and resilience. Keep moving forward, and always remember that you have the support of your family." Tom nodded, feeling a sense of determination. "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot to me." On the drive home, Tom reflected on the journey they had been on. The pain of the past had shaped them, but it hadn't defined them. They had built something beautiful out of the ashes, and they were ready to face whatever the future held. Back in Maplewood, Tom continued to focus on the expansion of the garage. He and Ben worked tirelessly, planning every detail and making sure they were ready for the next big step. Jessica supported them every step of the way, balancing her own career with the demands of their growing family. One evening, as they were finalizing plans for the new location, Tom received a call from an old friend, Mike Thompson. Mike had been a fellow mechanic at the garage where Tom used to work, and they had stayed in touch over the years. Tom, I heard about your plans to expand. I wanted to reach out and see if you need any help, Mike said. Tom was pleasantly surprised. Mike, it's great to hear from you. We could definitely use some help. How about you come by the shop tomorrow, and we can talk? The next day, Mike arrived at the shop, and Tom was thrilled to see him. They spent the day catching up, reminiscing about old times, and discussing the expansion plans. Mike had valuable insights and experience, and Tom was grateful for his input. Tom, this is an incredible opportunity, Mike said. You've built something amazing here. I'd be honored to help you take it to the next level. With Mike's expertise and support, the expansion plans moved forward smoothly. They found a suitable location for the new shop and began the process of setting up the business. It was an exciting and challenging time, but Tom felt confident and optimistic about the future. As the new shop took shape, Tom made sure to involve Ben in every step of the process. He wanted his son to learn and grow, preparing him for a future in the family business. They spent countless hours together, working side by side and building something they could both be proud of. Jessica continued to be a pillar of strength and love. She supported Tom and Ben, balanced her own career, and took care of the family. Her presence brought a sense of stability and joy to their lives, and Tom couldn't have asked for a better partner. One evening, as they were closing up the new shop, Tom turned to Jessica. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for believing in me, in us. Jessica smiled, her eyes filled with love. We're a team, Tom. And together, we can accomplish anything. With the new shop set to open, Tom and Jessica decided to throw a grand opening celebration. They invited friends, family, and the local community to join them in celebrating this new chapter in their lives. The day of the grand opening arrived, and the shop was filled with laughter, music, and the delicious smell of barbecue. Tom looked around, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. He had come so far, and he was surrounded by the people he loved. As the sun set, Tom stood up to make a speech. Thank you all for being here today. This new shop is more than just a business, it's a symbol of hope and resilience. We've faced many challenges, but we've come through stronger than ever. I'm grateful for the support of my family, friends, and this wonderful community. Here's to new beginnings and a bright future. The crowd cheered, and Tom felt a surge of pride. He had built something meaningful, and he knew that with the love and support of his family, they could face any challenge that came their way. As the celebration continued, Tom took a moment to stand back and watch. He saw Jessica laughing with the kids, Mike chatting with some of the guests, and the warm smiles of friends and family. It was a perfect moment, filled with love and joy. Tom knew that life would continue to bring its ups and downs, but he was ready for whatever came next. With Jessica by his side, the support of his children, and the strength of their love, he felt confident and hopeful. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged into the light. Their journey was far from over, but they were ready to embrace the future, hand in hand. And so, with hearts full of love and hope, Tom and Jessica looked forward to the next chapter of their lives, knowing that together, they could overcome anything. Thanks for tuning into Storytime Audio. We hope you were moved by shattered vows, navigating love, betrayal, and redemption after a cheating wife's confession. Tom Harrington's journey from heartache to healing reminds us that even in the darkest times, there's hope for new beginnings. His story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the importance of family, and the transformative power of love and forgiveness. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep believing in second chances and the possibility of a brighter tomorrow.